The prophet Elijah was deeply burdened for the spiritual condition of his nation. The people of Israel had abandoned their faith in Jehovah and had embraced the worship of the pagan god Baal. There were 450 prophets of Baal in Israel, and 400 other prophets who claimed to be prophets of the Lord God, but who were actually puppets on the payroll of the wicked king Ahab and his wife Jezebel. Elijah was convinced that he was the only true follower of Jehovah left in Israel, and he wanted to show his fellow Israelites that there was only one God and that they should love and serve him only. Elijah believed that a prolonged drought in the land would provide the stage on which he could demonstrate that Jehovah God was the one true God. So Elijah went to the Lord in earnest prayer and asked him to stop the rain indefinitely throughout Israel. Next, he went in faith to the wicked king Ahab and made a proclamation. As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. Then Elijah disappeared. The Lord fed Elijah throughout the drought and the famine, first using ravens, and later through a widow and her family. After 3.5 years of drought and famine, it was time for Elijah to confront King Ahab again. When they came face to face for the first time in over 3 years, Ahab wasted no time in blaming Elijah for all of Israel's problems. Art thou he that troubleth Israel? Ahab's question opened the door for Elijah to tell King Ahab exactly what he needed to hear. I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Balaam. Elijah proceeded to challenge Ahab to a showdown on the top of Mount Carmel. 450 prophets of Baal against one Elijah. People from all over Israel gathered on Mount Carmel to see Elijah take on the prophets of Baal. Elijah spoke to the crowd. How long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. There are 450 prophets of Baal here before you, and I'm the only prophet of Jehovah. We have 2 sacrifices here. The prophets of Baal are going to prepare their sacrifice to Baal, and I'm going to prepare my sacrifice to Jehovah. But we're not going to build a fire for our sacrifices. We're going to let the true God provide the fire. If Baal sends the fire on their sacrifice, then serve Baal. But if Jehovah sends the fire on my sacrifice, then serve Jehovah. I'll let them go first. The prophets of Baal went to work, preparing their bullock as an offering to Baal. Then they cried out in prayer to Baal. They prayed all morning long. Nothing happened. They jumped up on top of their altar and begged and pleaded for Baal to put a fire under their sacrifice. Still, no answer. At about noon, Elijah said, Cry a little louder, boys. Maybe he's busy talking to somebody else right now. Or you know what? Maybe Baal went on a trip. I know. I bet he's taking a nap. Yell louder so you can wake him up. The prophets of Baal panicked. They started cutting themselves until blood was gushing all over everything. It was getting on towards evening, and after nearly all day of trying, there was no answer at all from Baal. So Elijah stepped up and said, Pay attention, everybody. They've had their chance. Now we'll see what Jehovah can do. The people watched as Elijah took 12 stones and built an altar to the Lord. He dug a trench around the altar. He took his bullock and he prepared it to be sacrificed to the Lord. Then he had 12 barrels of water dumped on the sacrifice on the altar until everything was soaked, and the water filled the trench around the altar. Then Elijah looked to heaven and he prayed, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. When Elijah finished praying, the sky lit up over the people's heads. They looked up, and they saw fire falling from the heavens. They felt the heat as the flames consumed the sacrifice and the altar, and it licked up the water in the trench. And the people fell on their faces and cried, "The Lord, He is the God! The Lord, He is the God!" Elijah pointed to the prophets of Baal and cried, "Don't let them get away." He executed every one of those false prophets of Baal. Then Elijah went over to Ahab in faith, and he told him, "The drought is ended. It's about to rain." Elijah went back to the Lord in earnest prayer, asking him to make it rain again, and soon the land of Israel was drenched. God had used the faith and the prayers of his prophet to show his people that there is one true God. Christian, God can use your life of faith and prayer to show the people around you that there is one true God. Stay the course.